Adobe Illustrator Classroom in a Book. This is page 61. We are going to be working with this snowman figure. So you need to open up the file that's called L2_start AI file. One of the first things I want you to do is choose the selection tool and then position the pointer over the edge of the blue circle up here on the left. And actually, before we do that, let's select the zoom tool, and I'd like you to click, several times slowly. We'll go back up here, click off so nothing's selected. Okay, click the zoom tool, click several times slowly so that you can see these guys with a little bit more detail. And now we're going to go back and choose the selection tool, and we are going to position the pointer up here over the left and simply drag a selection around both. And because we made a rectangular selection around both, you can see that both are selected here. Another way to do that is to select the one you want, hold down Shift, and select the next one that you want, and you'll notice that they are in the same selection with this bounding box around it. Okay, so when you are so let's hold down Shift here. When you are manipulating these, let's say I wanted to grab and move them together, you'll notice this red line that might appear, little words that might appear. Those are called the Smart Guides, and they're turned on by default. And they're temporary snap to guides that help you to align and edit and transform objects like these blue circles on your artboard. So they're helpful to have. Okay, I'm going to click off. Then I want you to click anywhere inside the left circle to select it. You'll notice you've got this bounding box. And as you've been using these bounding boxes already, but just to sort of define them, these are used for making changes to artwork. Like if you want to resize it, you can do this and resize it, Command Z to undo. If you do this, you notice the curved arrow that appears when you put the cursor just off to one side, to the bottom right or left, or top right or left of the corner anchor point, and that will allow me to rotate. So Command Z to undo that. So when the bounding box is around an object like this blue circle, it indicates that this object is ready and selected, and you're telling Illustrator that you want to modify it somehow. So let's now click on the circle on the right. Let's hold down Shift, and now we've got both of these added to the selection. You'll notice that when you pick these up and try and move them anywhere, they're going to move together because you have a selection around both of them. I'm going to click off. I want to click onto one of these and just point out the idea that you've got anchor points here, 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 here. So this circle is made up of 8 anchor points. These lines in between, as you see, if you put your cursor right on the line, you see the red Smart Guide word says path. So this object, this circle, is made up of anchor points and paths. Okay, we'll come back to that shortly. So as you drag, let's click Shift, hold Shift, click. As you drag these around, you're going to notice, as I said, these Smart Guides around here, and these are also alignment guides. And then you'll also notice when I drag that gray box, that is the measurement label, and this shows the object's distance from its original position when you opened up the document. So we've made some changes. We don't want to keep those changes, so we're going to go File, Revert, and this is going to revert back to the state that our document was at when we last saved it, which in our case is when we opened it up. So File, Revert, here we are. Now you're seeing a portion of the document. We know that there's actually 2 artboards here. So let's view Fit Artboard in Window. You'll notice that you get one artboard here. If I go View, Fit All in Window, I can see all of the artboards that are part of my document, and in this case, it's 2. So in Illustrator, as you draw, you create vector paths that are made up of anchor points and paths. So let's look again at these circles. I'm going to Command plus to zoom in. I'm going to hold down my space bar to get my hand, and that will allow me to pan around until I have my object that I want to look at more closely right in front of me. So let's click on this to select it. And you'll notice here, like I said, you've got anchor points, these white squares around the object, and paths that are connecting them. And these control the shape. These anchor points almost work like pins holding this wire in place. And maybe it would be easier if you saw this with one of these. So if I click on here, you can see the bounding box conforms to the shape of my object, which in this case is a green rectangle, and it's made up of all of these white anchor points with blue lines in between. If I put my cursor over top, again, the red Smart Guide word path shows up. So again, this shape is made up of paths and anchor points, and the anchor points are like pins holding these paths in place. So any shape you're going to create in Illustrator is going to be made up of anchor points and paths. You can change the shape of a path or shape by dragging its anchor point. This direct selection tool up here, it's to the right of the selection tool, lets you select anchor points or path segments within an object so you can reshape them. So we're going to start working with direct selection and just working on one anchor point and manipulating the shape at this section. So let's go start out, clean this up, view, and we want to fit all in window. Here we are. I want you to, let's just click off so nothing's selected. Choose the zoom tool and click several times on the series of red and green shapes right here. And you'll notice because I clicked on these remain centered in my screen. I'm just zooming in on this portion of the artboard. Now I'm going to select the direct selection tool up here. Without clicking, I want you to position the pointer over the upper left-hand corner of this green shape, and you'll notice that the word anchor pops up. This anchor label is showing again because smart guides are turned on. If your smart guide, if the word anchor is not showing up for you, go view and go down to smart guides. Should be in here. I'm just right here, view smart guides. If that check mark is not on, make sure it is. Click the word smart guides if it's not. Okay, so again, if I'm up here, notice that little white box to the right of the pointer, just kind of bottom right of the pointer. This small dot that appears in the center of the white box indicates that the cursor is positioned over an anchor point. So we're going to left click to select that anchor point. I'm going to Command plus to zoom in so you can notice, hold down the space bar, get my hand, and that will allow me to look at this a little bit more closely. Okay, so you'll notice that this blue anchor point is a different color from all of these other anchor points, and that's because I just clicked on it with the direct selection tool. So we've told Illustrator that this is the anchor point that I want to manipulate. So I want you to just play around with this. Like you can distort it, you can make all kinds of different shapes with this direct selection tool. If you try then clicking on another anchor point, you'll notice now this anchor point is solid filled in blue, and the one we had selected is no longer filled in. So we've now told Illustrator, okay, now we want to manipulate this anchor point. So again, just try manipulating that. Let's do view, fit artboard in window. And then I want you again to file, revert. We don't want to save this. I just wanted to show you that this is possible. Okay, again, view, fit artboard in window. Okay, another way to select content is by dragging across the content that you want to select with a marquee selection. So you've got view, view fit all in window. Now I've got both artboards here. Select the zoom tool again. Click 3 times slowly on these blue circles. So 1, 2, 3. That's the perspective that you should have. Let's choose selection tool and position the pointer above and to the left of the leftmost blue circle, so somewhere around here. Then drag downwards. Notice I'm dragging a rectangular marquee selection around both of these blue circles. Let go, and you'll notice the marquee selection is around both. These bounding box, the bounding box is around both circles. So when you'll also notice if I Command Z, and Command Z again, Command Z or click off, you'll notice that when I drag the selection tool around, I really only need to encompass a small part of the objects to select them. So I'll try and go as closely as to these objects as I can, even not fully around them, and still, it still snaps to the perimeter of these circles. Okay, again, you can either click off, or if you have these selected, another slower way is to select, deselect. Now you're going to use the direct selection tool to select multiple anchor points in these blue circles by dragging a marquee selection around anchor points. So select the direct selection tool up here. Starting on the top left of the leftmost blue circle, I want you to drag across the top edges of the two circles. So you're not going all the way to the bottom, just the top edges, and only the top anchor points will be selected when I release the mouse. There we go. If I Command plus to zoom in, you'll notice only these top anchor points are selected. I don't see the anchor points at the bottom of these objects. So I'm going to click and drag. Let's say I'm going to click here, and I'm going to drag the anchor points to see. Oh, Command Z, that should not have happened. Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. Let's click off. Let's draw a marquee around the top of them again. Now let's say I grab one anchor point. You'll notice that because I dragged the direct selection marquee around both shapes, when I drag one or both of the anchor points, let's say I do this. Oh, it should still, okay, Command Z. If I wanted to now choose the direct selection of one of these, you'll notice now I can manipulate them both at the same time. Okay, so I can change these original circles into a whole myriad of different shapes. Let's go again to File, Revert, so we don't keep this, and revert back. Okay, at times selecting artwork is going to be more difficult if there's a whole bunch of shapes or objects in your artwork. So let's experiment with what to do in these scenarios. You will be doing a project that's going to have a lot more details in it than this, and so it's going to be helpful to know how to hide and lock objects when you're not working on them. So let's go View, Fit All in Window. Now we see both artboards. You're going to choose the selection tool with the pointer positioned in the blue area behind the snowman. I want you to try and draw an ellipse selection or a rectangular marquee selection around both of these eyes. Oh no, I moved the blue square. Command Z, try this again. Oh no, now I moved the face. Command Z, that's very frustrating. So undo, so you're back to the original point. You're going to click the blue background to make it selected. And in order to prevent the blue background from moving every time you're trying to select the eyes, we're going to lock the background. So you're going to go Object, Lock, Selection. Now, because you've locked this, it's going to prevent you from accidentally selecting the blue background when in fact you're trying to select the eyes. So now, with the selection still active, selection tool, put the pointer in the blue area to the left of the snowman's hat and drag across the head of the snowman to select the whole thing. So let's do this. Rectangular marquee around the head. Don't go as far down as the scarf. There we go. I've got the whole head. I've got all of these little pieces of the hat up there. I want you to hold down Shift and select the eyes, so you add these to your selection. Select the mouth, so you add this to your selection. And then I want you to Object, Hide, Selection. The selected shapes are going to be temporarily hidden, so we can more easily select other objects. Hide Selection. There we go. No more snowman's head. I want you to File, Save As, and rename the file so that it's got your name in it. I have my little name up there. Yours should be lesson O2, and then your first name, and then save. And we will pick up from here with our next tutorial.